Hello and welcome back to LBG Reviews. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Today we're talking about Grimoire Groves, a unique twist on a roguelike where you play as a witch apprentice named Primrose. The game is themed around magical gardening. But whereas a lot of roguelikes see you killing enemies and gathering like currency for defeating them, mechanically it works the same way in Grimoire Groves. But the way that they've themed it, the way that it's portrayed in the game, it's not killing and death. No. See, all the enemies in Grimoire Groves are living plants. And like they are humanoid, or not even actually humanoid, but sentient, like bipedal plants. And basically, you have to use a magical watering can with a max of 3 spells you can attach, and water the plants using those different spells to get them to plant themselves in the ground. So once they plant themselves, they'll produce fruit. That fruit is then used as currency to buy either permanent upgrades or just to improve things around the garden. As you go along, you unlock new features such as, to start off with, you only have a basic puddle spell that can barely deal they can barely feed any the plant creatures. But as you go along, as you gather resources, you can eventually unlock ghost snails, magical lakes, flower trails, and different things that all have different effects, and like you can customize which ones you want to take out there with you based off of how long do they take to recharge, what kind of playstyle do you have, do you prefer to get up close and personal, or do you prefer laying out traps, dodging and weaving? And as the game goes on, you can also unlock, there's also elements to unlock. You start off with the fire element, and thus all enemies in the game are fire enemies. But as you go along, you have to improve things, and you have to restore like the Earth Shrine, so then you gain access to Earth magic, and then from then on, some of the enemies might be yellow, in which case you have to use Earth magic, and then eventually you have to repair the Water Shrine, so then some of the enemies might be blue, and you have to use Water magic. Or then eventually repair the Air Shrine, and then which means that some of the enemies might be green, and then you've got to use air magic in order to get them to plant themselves. But also, it works in the reverse. You don't want to use water magic on a fire plant because that will hurt the plant. See, in a way, Grimoire Groves also discourages you from, like, say, trying to rush through a level. Because like the way that it works is enemies have a ring of awareness. If you are within their ring of awareness for a certain amount of time, they will become aware of you and attempt to go after you. This also forms a link between you and the enemy. That link, if it ever becomes severed by too much distance, will cause you to lose a little bit of health as kind of a punishment for not dealing with that plant. Likewise, if you are within that, like if that link never gets severed, but if you leave the plant alone for too long, it could wilt away and die, which will also sever that link, obviously, which will deal damage to you as well. Different enemies have different effects, and like it's interesting to try to play around them. The game doesn't really have any accessibility settings, apart from the difficulty setting, really. See, in normal mode, there are, like, the first enemy of the game, the beanies. They can't hurt you, they just slow you down. But, like, as you go on, more and more the plants can drain your energy and basically make you go back to the garden, the hub area, you know? But if you set it to relaxed mode, enemies don't deal damage to your energy. You just keep going. I've been playing exclusively in relaxed mode because my reflexes aren't that great. But next week we'll talk about Unravel 2, a co-op game that me and my mom have been playing. It's a sequel to a puzzle platformer called Unravel, where you play as a little yarn doll that has to go around platforming and solving puzzles. The second game, Unravel 2, it's more of the same, but also co-op. And we've been having a lot of fun trying to get through it. It doesn't really have any accessibility settings to talk about, but we'll get more into the weeds on that next week. See you guys then. Bye.